Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Thomas and I am a chronic prototyping addict. Today I want to talk about why I moved away from making a micro-RTS game and how I started developing a slots, arena, autobattler, and ... There is a surprise about that project as well that I will talk about towards the end. So just to give you kind of a broad overview of where I am at with projects that I am working on, I made a video a little while back about how I was building on top of my game, Bridges and Docks, a combat micro-RTS game where you have all of these different procedurally generated islands and you can command different troops and tell them to go fight here, and the idea is to go attack the enemy towers and defend your own towers. And basically what I want to do is I want to walk through my progress videos that I've recorded over like the past year and talk about the major pivots that I made and how I ended up at this prototype where you are rolling a slot machine and then using the equipment and personnel warrior types that you roll to spawn in warriors to fight in the arena for you. There's a lot there. I'm excited to get into it, but let's start at the beginning. My first iteration of combat game, this is what it looked like. I had people that could fight and they were knocking each other into the water. You can see how I was testing the idea of having good troops, which are blue, bad troops that are red, and yeah, they just like knock each other into the water, which is kind of funny. And then here is me manually triggering the knockback, and he's like doing a backflip. This must be my first test of dynamically building bridges between islands. Yeah, you press fight, and then the bridges connect, and then you can go fight people trying to kill the enemies and then destroy their base. Oh, okay, so this is actually a full game loop. So same thing, you start with these islands, you go attack people, and then if you can get rid of their base, then they submerge. You go to the next level, you get to pick an upgrade, so you can pick to upgrade your base or buy a new archer or buy a new swordsman. As you progress, more islands would spawn in. You can see I have archers here now that are attacking this base over here. It was pretty cool because you had these kind of little different island environments, and then depending on how the bridge is connected, I spent a long time working on that algorithm so that different bridges would connect in different ways. That was kind of interesting because you didn't want every island connected to every other island. This was a pretty good prototype, honestly. I think that there is something here that's fun, and it was cool because I got to build it on top of my island generation project. You can get pretty big armies with this. If you look at the UI on the bottom, these sword icons, these are the different squads that you could select. I think the squad sizes were like 2 or 3 depending on the time that I was working on this, but you can select all of them or some of them to send them to different places, you know, like a little RTS mechanic. It's pretty fun. I think it's cute. I think it's a good idea. I like the idea of being confined by your movement into different areas. I think these videos I recorded just so that I could get some B-roll for a devlog that I was making. As this level loads in, I obviously had a bug where the location that the different islands would spawn in at just all went around the origin. So you have like at least 6 islands spawning in the same location, and you can see that the towers are all in the same location too, and so everybody's just going to attack the towers in the middle. I remember experimenting a lot with the spacing of the islands, the length of the bridges. All of this stuff is designed in a grid, and so I can space the islands more far apart or closer together. Eventually I could connect the islands diagonally or just in the cardinal directions, north, south, east, west, that sort of a thing. This is pretty cool. Just looking at this again, it makes me excited at the prospect of building out this big rolling environment. I get excited about the idea of building out a game where you control troops that are traversing these different island environments. And looking back on it, I feel like it is a really good idea. I put a little heart over these houses to indicate that they are your home base. And I think this was like the very first mechanic of getting people to fight and attack bases and attack each other. You can see there's like an outline mechanic for the different targeted units that you're selecting. Just doing basic pathfinding stuff. You can see I still have goats and everything. So this is really interesting because this is when I started to try and figure out what the core gameplay loop could be as far as expanding your base and your island. So you can see once you destroy the enemy base here, it'll submerge, and then you get this opportunity to expand your island. So once the warriors would destroy the base of an enemy island, that enemy island would submerge, and then you get the opportunity to upgrade your island. And so I kind of defined these like Tetris pieces that you could use to add on to your island. And so you could make it taller or wider. and you could eventually expand the size that you could grow out, because right now you're just constrained to the grid that appeared. You can see the archer has like a little white halo around it that is showing like their range that they could shoot, the distance that they could shoot the bow. Yeah, this is kind of fun to look back at because this is really old. First time that I got the archers to work. Do you see how how the arrows look? They're not oriented in any specific angle, but they just fly up in the air and just like drop down on people. This is something that I was pretty excited about initially, and it's when I got the warriors to not only fight each other, but to have like a prioritized attention feature where they could be fighting or they could be doing other tasks, like in this case, chopping down trees. So you can see how they can run to different places. You can select different units. That's what those icons are on the left. You can select different units. And then if you click on a tree, then they'll go and attack it. And the trees have different health and everything. And they'll go ahead and chop down every tree within that radius of the tree that you chop. And then you collect wood up at the top. You can see it's like a resource gaining mechanic. And I was pretty excited about this because the idea I thought was going to be you start on your little island and then you could build bridges using the wood that you collect from different trees. Oh, this is a manual bridge building mechanic. So there's like the automatic bridges that were built, and then I was working on having the warriors themselves build the bridges. So I've threw in some Patreon videos that I wanted to show off because for a while I was doing weekly updates for things that I was working on. So if you see this, like I was talking about my inspiration of Bad North and Thronefall. So you can see like this was just like me doing like a fast, quick and dirty video update for my Patreon subscribers and talking about the things that I was working on that week, what I was able to get done the previous week. This is nice. I love the grass and the color palette and the sheep and the goats. This is like the first time I introduced neutral islands into this build so that not every island that gets generated is like an enemy island. These are just some sketches that I did while I was trying to figure out how to work on the islands and what I wanted them to look like. I think this is the first time that I moved my base and my fighting away from island environments because I wanted to just focus on the combat and make the combat look good. So this was a new scene that I set up where enemies would just spawn in and I could have a bigger base and just focus on a flat field what combat would look like and feel like, so that I made that look really good. Now this is where it gets interesting. If you subscribe to my Patreon and watch the videos, then you're already aware of this pivot that I made, but I think it's really interesting because instead of just clicking and being in control of your troops and selecting the squads with your mouse, I made it so that you control this little character. Your troops are able to follow that character. And so you can see like, this is me testing out like their attention, like they still follow you, but then they turn their attention to enemies and are able to shoot arrows at enemies that you bring them towards. And the enemies don't really care right now. They're just making a beeline for the tower. That was a really big pivot that I think was really good. Yeah, so I made it like this king character that's not animated yet. Same thing. Okay, so now we have everything looking a little better. The king is animated. I don't think he can fight at this time. I think he's still relying on the people following him to fight. I made it a bit moodier, so now it's like you're going to explore a forest and then you might encounter enemies coming to attack your base. A little like kind of like some level design. When I started feeling pretty good about this version of the project where you had bodyguards that you could recruit and they would surround you and follow you really well. I liked this version of the demo a lot because it just felt good to be leading people around, and you can't attack even though you're holding a sword, but I thought it was really cool to just guide your people into where you wanted them to attack. I made it so that you could change the camera, and then I also expanded the base a bit so that there's a little more depth to the level. If you want to go back and watch these, they're still on the Patreon. You can hear my thoughts as we're going. Oh, okay, yeah. So this is where I started adding upgrades so that over time you could expand your castle. So you can add walls. If enemies ran into the walls, they would start attacking them, so the walls were destructible. So this is the last update before I pivoted to the slot machine game. So what's going on right now is you have the tower, which is your base that you're trying to defend, and then you have your character, the king here, and then you have these white circles, and those are building plots where you can build different buildings that you can interact with to upgrade your units. And then these items on the ground over here, like this little red thing and this cube and this pink cube, they're placeholder objects that constitute different scepter pieces. Well, here's part of it. Here's like some ideas for scepter powers that I had. But basically the idea is that the king won't be able to attack people directly, but you can build a scepter for the king. There's 4 components that constitute a scepter that you can construct. There's the gem at the top, which gives you a particular power. There's a cage that surrounds the gem. There's a coupler that links it to the rod, and then there's the rod, which is like the handle. And each of these would give you like a different stat or boost or power. And so that's what these little pieces on the ground are. They're like different scepter pieces that will automatically get equipped if the king runs over them. So you can see like I pick up this one and this one and this one, and then I have a power where I can shoot ice across the ground. Obviously these are all placeholder effects, but the idea is that you can like shoot ice in front of you, and if an enemy is exposed to ice for too long, they freeze. And then you can see I ran up and recruited this archer to come follow me. And so he'll do the actual attacking and aggro the enemy. But now I have this ice staff that I can use to freeze people. So you can upgrade it with walls and stuff, and then you can build a scepter forge to craft the actual scepter, and then an armory that you can open up, and you can buy upgrades for each of your troops. So right now I just bought a lethal sword for my warriors, and so then it's like a lot more damage that they deal. There's a lot of this stuff that I was building on top of, and you can kind of see how this was getting overscoped for what I wanted to do and why I wanted to pivot to a smaller project. Even though I think this is a good idea and it's fun, I felt like it was far away from me being to a point where I could push it out the door. So I came to this juncture point where I realized the game is too big. I want to be able to ship something quickly. I was just talking to Chris Sikowski about the golden era of indie game development and how people should make really small scoped games. I think it's good advice. And so I was trying to figure out how could I pivot, but still keep a lot of the mechanics that I had been working on. And as part of that flow of thought, I was thinking about this game that I had played recently called Slots and Daggers, which was by Friedemann. Everything he touches is awesome. He makes really good stuff. He made Summer House, which is just like a chill building game. Anyway, Slots and Daggers is fun because you are fighting monsters and you are rolling slots to either deal damage, defend yourself, heal yourself, or gain currency like gold coins. There's one moment in this game that gets really fun because you get this item that lets you re-roll previous slots. So then you just have this chain reaction where you're just able to roll like 20 different slots. And I thought that combined with combat is really cool. And I think I could do something fun with that. So that's what spurred this idea. This is my first recording of the prototype where you just have this slot machine at the bottom. You hit the stop button and whatever you roll, that's who spawns in the arena to fight on your behalf. This is the very basic, like I just threw together some objects and I wanted to get random tiles to dictate the types of warriors that spawn into this arena. So that's what this first video is. And then I moved on to spawning enemy troops. And so there are waves of different enemies that come in. And then as you spawn in different enemies of your own, they fight. And then whoever wins, the crowd cheers. So then after that, I started working on like the rolling mechanic of actually spinning the slot. And then I was trying to figure out what it would actually look like to have some agency by the player. Because if all you're doing is hitting a button that's random, then there's no skill involved. There's no meaningful choice for the player. And so I thought, okay, let's spin until we get these cards, then spawn those corresponding cards onto the screen for the player. So you can see like as they're spinning, you get all of these cards set up. And the top row is equipment or weapons, and the bottom row is people, like the types of warriors. And so you have archers and knights for people, and then for equipment you have swords and bows. And the idea is that you get more powerful combinations if you put the similar items together. And so at this point I was thinking, it's an interesting idea, right? There's still a lot to be proven out, but similar to Slots and Daggers, I think that the shop is going to be a big source of compelling gameplay for a game like this. You can see I put the turns until the shop, so you don't get the shop every time, but it's like every 3 waves you get to see the shop. Oh, this is a big thing. I put the health of everybody combined at the top. So the green is like, oh, and then the flowers come in. Okay, so this is actually kind of a big jump in progress. And I added a shop, so you can buy an archer, you can buy an ice bow. So that gem at the top of the store, you can see the 15 is like how much it costs to buy. and it's called a gear filter. So it filters the slot. So you get to assign it to either slot 1, 2, or 3. And then that slot now will only spawn gear, you know, bow and arrow or a sword if you want to buy it. So then you are guaranteed to get an equipment for whatever slot you combine it on. So if you look at this middle row, you'll always get a blue object because that's equipment. And I also have an ice bow now. So now archers, when they shoot, they will freeze whoever they shoot. And there's just some fun equipment upgrades like that. That feels pretty good. And then of course, like the laurels being thrown in, you know, the flowers, something that you can't see here because there's no audio, but I put in a cheering. So there's like general mumbling among the crowd is like an ambient noise. But then when you win, it goes, and it feels really good because it's like raining flowers on you. I think that's a really emotionally compelling moment. Yeah, this is a good upgrade too. So this gem, if you buy it and assign it to a different slot, you'll get whatever you roll from the slot, but then it'll respin it and then give you whatever else you roll. Oh yeah, and then I added this thing to collect coins because I wanted it to feel really good. It's a little buggy. There's some coins floating around, but yeah, like they fall in and they go across this thing that looks like an aqueduct. I didn't get any equipment there, so now you just get like the bare bones. People are punching and throwing arrows. So let me talk about kind of where we're at here. So this is about 20 hours of work. I track my time meticulously because I want to know how much time I've invested. I put about 20 hours into this slot machine game prototype. And I think it's a cool idea. And there's a lot of things that are compelling about it. And I realized that it's just not fun to play. It's cool, but it's not fun. And that's kind of where I'm at with it. I think for a game like this to be really fun, the UI has to be really fun to interact with. Like the whole game is in the shop right now. It's based off of decisions and how you want to create a build. It's basically like building a deck builder with randomization for the slot machine, right? And so I think it's just a bit too boring of a game for me to continue making this. And that's kind of where I fell on it. So I started making this fishing game and realizing that a game like this, where people are fishing for you and you just click the fish to collect them, this was already more fun than my slot machine arena auto battler game. Like I would rather play this than the game that I was developing that was a lot more involved. That's what I'm doing. I'm building a fishing game because this is way more fun and it looks good and I'm excited about where this game can go. So that's the major spoiler, is I am putting a pause on my combat game, my micro-RTS that transformed into a strategy defense game that morphed into a slot machine arena auto battler. There's a lot of good stuff in that idea. I want to pick it back up, but to make it good, I think it needs more experimentation, it needs more time, and right now I just want to focus on building a fun game that I can ship out the door. And right now, that's my fishing game. Devlog coming up soon about stuff that I've been cooking with this. There's some pretty fun stuff that I've added to it, and I might live stream some more dev for it. So if you want to get notified for that, I don't know how that works. I think if you subscribe and hit the bell, then it'll probably tell you when I'm live streaming. I've just been doing it when I feel like it. I want to start doing the Patreon update videos again too. So if you want to check out my Patreon, go ahead and do that. And that's my rambly video. I appreciate you guys. I haven't been doing a lot of devlog type videos on this channel, and I want that to change because I've been doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes, but the effort that it takes to record different types of milestones in a project and go back and edit it, it's just a lot. So now that I have a video editor, I'm hoping that I can keep you all more up to date with stuff that I'm making because I've been making some cool stuff. I appreciate you all, and I will see you in the next one.